Title: If only he knew what his friend did to his home. There are stories that make men question the people they call brother. Stories that turn handshakes into warnings. Stories that teach us that sometimes the enemy does not break down your gate. He uses the key you gave him. This is one of those stories. The husband's name was Chidi. He was a good man, the kind who worked hard and came home early. His wife, Adiz, seemed content. His best friend, Emeka, was closer than blood. The man who stood beside him at his wedding, who ate from his pot, who called his house our house. Then one afternoon, Chidi received a strange phone call. The voice was unfamiliar, hesitant. "Sir, I think you should come to Sunrise Hotel. Your wife, she is here." Chidi's chest tightened. He asked no questions. He simply drove. When he arrived at the roadside hotel, his hands trembled on the steering wheel. He climbed the stairs slowly. At room 12, he pushed the door open. Then he froze. On the bed sat his wife, half-dressed and startled. Beside her, adjusting his shirt with shaking hands, was Emeka, the man he called brother. His chest tightened like rope. Nobody spoke. Chidi slowly closed the door without shouting. Outside the room, the hotel receptionist whispered, "Sir, she has been here before." Chidi stepped into the lobby, his hands trembling. The air felt thick, heavy with shame that was not his to carry. The receptionist approached quietly, her face full of pity. She glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then slipped him a small folded receipt. "For your wife's previous stay," she whispered. Chidi unfolded it slowly. His eyes focused on the date printed at the top. Yesterday. Not today. Yesterday. His wife had told him she left only this morning to visit her sick mother in the village. But she had been here yesterday. In this hotel. In that room. Behind him, footsteps rushed down the stairs. Emeka burst into the lobby, his face twisted with panic. "Chidi! Chidi, please, let me explain." But Chidi walked past him like a ghost. No words, no anger, just silence that felt heavier than shouting. He got into his car and sat there, staring at nothing. The world outside continued as if nothing had changed, but inside him, everything had cracked. His phone buzzed. He looked down. It was his wife calling. Her name glowed on the screen like a lie. He answered, his voice calm. "Hello. My husband." Adiz's voice was sweet, almost singing. "I've reached my mother's place." Chidi closed his eyes and listened. His wife's voice was light, cheerful, unbothered. "The journey was so long, my husband. I am tired, but Mama is happy to see me." She described the village she claimed she was in. She mentioned landmarks he recognized. She gave greetings from aunties he knew. Her lie was detailed, rehearsed, almost believable. "That is good," Chidi said quietly. "How is she feeling?" "Oh, she is weak, but the native doctor says she will recover. The village is so quiet, you know how it is." Chidi almost believed her. Almost. Her words were too perfect, too prepared, like a speech she had practiced. But then he heard it. Faint music in the background. Hotel music. The same soft lobby music he could still hear behind him. She was not in any village. She was still here. Perhaps hiding in the bathroom while Emeka waited outside. Perhaps in another room. His jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "May your mother get well soon," he said gently. "Amen, my husband. I will call you tomorrow." Chidi ended the call and sat in the car, breathing slowly. A text message appeared on his phone. Unknown number. "If you want the truth, check your home." His heart began to pound. Chidi drove home as the sun began to set. The roads blurred past him. His mind raced with questions he could not yet answer. When he pulled into his compound, the house looked the same from outside. But when he stepped inside, something felt wrong. The air was different. It felt altered, like someone's presence was still warm in the walls. He walked into the bedroom slowly. The bedsheets were newly changed. Too neatly. Adiz never made the bed this perfectly, with hospital corners and smooth edges. In the kitchen, he found a second cup in the sink. A coffee cup. He had not used 2 cups. He had left only one that morning. His hands went cold. Someone had been here. Recently. He walked back into the living room, his eyes scanning every corner, every surface. Then he saw it. On the dining table, partially hidden under a newspaper, was a small brass key. It was not his key. It was not Adi's key. Chitty picked it up slowly, turning it in his fingers. It was freshly cut, still shiny. The kind of key you make when you want access without asking. His chest felt tight. He noticed a spare key on the table that wasn't his. Chitty pocketed the strange key, his mind racing. What door did this open? What secret was it guarding? He walked through the house, trying the key on different locks. It was not for the gate, not for the main door, not for the storeroom. Then he stood in the bedroom, staring at their large wooden wardrobe. Adi's always kept it locked. She claimed she stored old clothes and family heirlooms inside. He had never questioned it. Now he did. He slid the key into the wardrobe lock. Clicked open. Inside, pushed to the back behind old wrappers and handbags, was a small brown envelope sealed with tape. His name was written on it in handwriting he did not recognize. Not Adi's neat curves. Not Emika's rough scrawl. Someone else's. His hands shook as he tore the envelope open. Inside was a hotel keycard. Gold letters embossed on white plastic. Sunrise Hotel. Written on the back in pen. Emika Okafor, Room 12. Chitty stood there, holding the card, his mind trying to process what this meant. This was not a sudden mistake. This was not one moment of weakness. This was planned. Organized. They had a system. The envelope contained a hotel card with his friend's name on it. That night, Chitty drove to Emika's house. His hands were steady on the wheel, his face calm. But inside, something cold was forming. The lights were on when he arrived. He knocked calmly. Emika's wife, Ngozi, opened the door. Her face brightened when she saw him. "Chitty, welcome. Are you looking for Emika?" "Yes," Chitty said, his voice steady. "Is he home?" Ngozi shook her head, her smile fading slightly. "He traveled this afternoon. Urgent business in Enugu. He said he will be back in 3 days." Chitty nodded slowly, his face revealing nothing. "I see. No problem. Greet him for me when he calls." "I will," Ngozi said. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine," Chitty lied smoothly. "Just wanted to discuss something. It can wait." He turned and walked back to his car. Ngozi closed the door. But Chitty did not leave. Instead, he drove around the corner and parked in the shadows. He waited, watching. 15 minutes later, he saw it. Emika's black Jeep, parked behind a mechanic's shop 2 streets away. Hidden deliberately. The same car that was supposed to be traveling to Enugu. The friend was not traveling. He was hiding. As Chitty sat there, a young boy ran up to his window, breathless. "Uncle, uncle, the man asked me to give you this." Chitty took the folded piece of paper from the boy's hand. "Which man?" The boy pointed toward the mechanic's shop. But when Chitty looked, he saw only a shadow disappearing around the corner. He unfolded the note. The handwriting was rushed, panicked. "Let's talk before you make a mistake. E." Chitty read it twice, then smiled bitterly. Emika thought he would react with violence. Thought he would come with anger, with fists, with rage that could be controlled or redirected. That was what guilty men always feared. The explosion they could explain away. The crazy husband they could point to and say, "See? He's unstable." But Chitty decided something else in that moment. He would not explode. He would not give them that story. He would become ice. He drove home slowly, his mind already working. When he reached his house, he went straight to his study and pulled out a clean notebook. He began to write. Every date he could remember. Every strange behavior. Every late-night call Adiz took in the bathroom. Every time Emika showed up, "Just to check on you, brother." He wrote down the hotel receipt, the mysterious key, the text message, Emika's fake travel story. Then he opened his laptop and searched for Adiz's mother on Facebook. The most recent post made his hands go cold. The post was a video from yesterday. Loud music, people dancing, a funeral ceremony in the village. And there, in the center of the crowd, was Adi's mother, laughing, clapping, dancing with the energy of a woman half her age. Healthy, strong, alive, no sickness, no dying, no emergency that required Adi's urgent presence. Chidi zoomed into the funeral photo. His wife's mother was wearing bright colors, her face full of joy. The timestamp read, yesterday, 3 p.m. The same time Adiz claimed to be by her bedside, caring for her. His hands went cold. He saved the video, downloaded it, backed it up. Then he received another message from Adiz. My husband, I will be back tomorrow. Mama is much better now. The medicine worked. Chidi stared at the message for a long time. Then he replied calmly, thank God. Travel safely. He set the phone down and returned to his notebook. The evidence was piling up like stones, and soon they would bury her. That evening there was a knock at his door. Chidi opened it to find his neighbor, Mama Tund, standing there with a basket of vegetables and an uncomfortable expression. Good evening, Oga Chidi. Good evening, Mama. How are you? I am fine, sir. I brought garden egg for you. But her eyes said she had brought something else, something harder to give. Chidi took the basket and noticed how Mama Tund shifted her weight from foot to foot, the way people do when they carry uncomfortable truths. Mama, is everything all right? He asked gently. She glanced around, then lowered her voice to a whisper. Oga, I did not want to talk, but your friend, the one who drives the black Jeep. He came here this afternoon. Chidi's stomach tightened, but his face remained calm. Emeka? She nodded quickly. Yes, sir. He said he came to check on your wife because you traveled. I saw him use a key to enter your gate. I thought maybe you gave him permission, so I did not say anything. But, Oga, he stayed inside for almost 1 hour. The words hit Chidi like stones, but he forced himself to smile. It is fine, Mama. He helps me sometimes when I travel. Thank you for telling me. Relief washed over Mama Tund's face. Okay, sir. I just wanted you to know. After she left, Chidi closed the door and stood there, breathing slowly. Emeka had been entering his house, using a key, staying for hours, with his wife. He walked around the compound slowly, inspecting every corner with new eyes. Near the gate, half hidden behind a potted plant, he found something that made his blood freeze. A small black camera, pointed directly at his front door. Chidi knelt down and examined the camera without touching it at first. It was small, professional, wireless. The kind you could monitor from your phone. Someone had been watching him, tracking when he left for work, when he returned home, monitoring his movements like a target. This was not passion. This was surveillance, planning, strategy. He carefully removed the camera and took it inside. He studied it under the light. Battery-powered, high quality, expensive. But Chidi did not panic. Instead, he went online and ordered his own camera, smaller, better hidden, completely legal. It arrived the next day. That night, he installed it in a corner of his living room, angled perfectly to capture the front door and hallway. He connected it to an app on his phone. If they were watching him, now he would watch them. He tested the camera. Motion detection, active. Night vision, clear. Audio recording, working. Everything was ready. That night, Chidi lay in bed with one eye open. His phone was beside him on the nightstand, volume low but alerts on. At 2:13 a.m., the phone vibrated softly. Motion detected at gate. Chidi sat up slowly, his heart pounding. He opened the app with trembling fingers. The screen showed his front gate in night vision green. A shadow moved in the darkness. Someone was using a key to unlock it. The figure stepped into the camera's view. It was Emeka. Chidi watched the live footage, barely breathing. Emeka walked toward the house with the confidence of a man who had done this many times before. He reached the front door and paused, looking around carefully. His head tilted slightly, like an animal sensing danger. Then something strange happened. Emeka froze. His body went rigid. He stared at the door, then at the windows, then back at the gate. Something felt wrong to him. After a long moment, he turned and walked back to the gate quickly, almost running. The camera caught everything, the entry, the hesitation, the retreat. Emeka knew. Somehow, he sensed that something had changed. Chidi sat in the darkness, watching the footage again and again. He saved the clip, backed it up, labeled it with the date and time. He did not sleep the rest of the night. He simply watched, waited. At dawn, the camera detected movement again. This time, it was Adiz. She entered through the gate quietly, moving with practiced stealth. She carried no luggage, no bags, no evidence of travel. Her hair was neat and styled. Her clothes were fresh and unwrinkled. She did not look like someone who had spent days in a village caring for a sick mother. She looked like someone who had spent the night in a hotel. Chidi heard her key turn in the lock. He quickly closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. The next clip revealed the wife returning at dawn, without luggage. Adiz entered the bedroom quietly, like a shadow returning home before sunrise. She stood there for a moment watching Chidi sleep or pretend to sleep. Then she climbed into bed beside him, careful not to disturb him. At 7 o'clock, Chidi woke up and stretched, his performance perfect. "You are back," he said, smiling warmly. Adiz smiled back, but her eyes were searching his face for cracks, for knowledge, for any sign that he knew. "Yes, my husband. The journey was so stressful. How is Mama?" "Much better. The medicine worked. She was sitting up this morning." Chidi nodded. "Thank God. I was worried." Adiz moved closer and hugged him tightly. Too tightly. Like she was testing whether he suspected anything. Like she was trying to feel his heartbeat for lies. Chidi hugged her back warmly. "Welcome home." Then she asked the question that exposed everything. "Did anyone visit the house while I was gone?" The question hung in the air. It was casual, light, but Chidi heard the fear underneath. She needed to know if he had discovered anything. If anyone had seen anything. If her secret was still safe. Chidi looked at her calmly, his face revealing nothing. "No one," he said gently. Her shoulders relaxed immediately. The tension left her body. She smiled. "Good. I was just asking." She went to the kitchen, humming softly, and began making breakfast like nothing had happened. Chidi watched his wife move around the kitchen with practiced ease. She made his favorite breakfast, yam and egg sauce. She laughed at his small jokes. She asked about work. Everything seemed normal, perfect even, but Chidi was no longer the man she thought she knew. Later, when Adiz went to take her bath, Chidi quietly opened her traveling bag. It was sitting by the bedroom door, still unpacked. Inside were hotel toiletries, tiny bottles of shampoo, wrapped soap, a shower cap with Golden Palace Hotel printed on it. No village dust, no worn clothes from days of travel, just hotel items. And at the bottom of the bag, tucked into a side pocket, was another key. Chidi pulled it out slowly. It was a hotel room key, but not from Sunrise Hotel. This one had a different logo, different colors. Golden Palace Hotel. Room 22. His hands went cold. The betrayal had layers. This was not one hotel, one mistake, one moment of weakness. This was a pattern. Multiple hotels. Multiple trips. How long had this been happening? He took a photo of the key with his phone, then carefully placed it back exactly where he found it. That afternoon, while Adiz was visiting a friend, Chidi drove to Golden Palace Hotel. It was in a different town, almost an hour away. He discovered the key was for a different hotel, one in a different town. Chidi parked outside Golden Palace Hotel and sat in his car for a moment, preparing himself. Then he walked into the reception calmly, his face neutral. The receptionist, a young woman with kind eyes, looked up and smiled professionally. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you?" Chidi pulled out his phone and showed her a photo of Adiz, a family picture from their anniversary. "Do you recognize this woman?" The receptionist's smile faded. She glanced around nervously, then looked at the photo more closely. "Sir, I cannot give out guest information. It is against policy." Chitty leaned closer, his voice gentle but firm. I am her husband. Please, I just need to know the truth. The receptionist's face softened with pity. She hesitated, then sighed quietly. Yes, sir. I recognize her. Chitty's chest tightened. Does she come here often? Yes, sir. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. She comes with the same man. They always book room 22. Always the same man? Chitty pressed. The receptionist nodded. Yes, sir. A tall man, drives a black Jeep. Chitty felt the ground shift beneath him, but he kept his face calm. Thank you, he said quietly. As he turned to leave, the receptionist added something that stopped him cold. But last time, sir, there was also another woman with them. Chitty turned back slowly. Another woman? The receptionist nodded, clearly uncomfortable but determined to help. Yes, sir. A lady who seemed very close to your wife. They were laughing together in the lobby, very familiar. She also went up to the room with them. Chitty's stomach dropped. Can you describe her? Slim woman, light skin, short hair styled nicely. She wore a red dress that day. Very fashionable. The description hit Chitty like a punch. Red dress, short hair, light skin. That was Chioma, Adi's best friend. The one who called her sister. The one who visited their house every weekend. The one who braided Adi's hair while they gossiped and laughed. The betrayal had layers he had not even imagined. Chitty thanked the receptionist quietly and walked back to his car on legs that felt like water. He sat there for a long time trying to process it. His wife, his best friend. And now, possibly, his wife's best friend too. How deep did this go? How long had it been happening? He left without breaking down, his face a mask of control. But inside, something was crumbling. That evening, when Chitty returned home, Adiz was on the phone in the living room, laughing loudly. Yes, yes, please come over. I missed you too. She ended the call and turned to Chitty with a bright smile. My husband, Chioma, is coming for dinner tonight. Is that okay? Chitty smiled back. Of course. She is always welcome. Chioma arrived at 7 o'clock, carrying a bottle of wine and wearing a wide, perfect smile. She hugged Adiz tightly at the door, then turned and hugged Chitty. Brother Chitty, how are you? You are looking well. I am fine, sister, Chitty said warmly, his voice betraying nothing. They sat down for dinner. Jollof rice, fried chicken, plantains, and laughter that felt too loud, too forced. Adiz and Chioma kept glancing at each other, sharing private smiles. They laughed at jokes that were not funny. They overacted innocence, like performers on a stage. Chitty played along perfectly. He asked questions about Chioma's work. He complimented the food. He refilled their wine glasses. Then, halfway through the meal, Chioma made a mistake. You know, she said, her tongue loosened by her second glass of wine. That hotel near the highway has such nice rooms. Really big beds. Good air conditioning. Beautiful bathrooms. She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes widened as she realized what she had just said. Adiz's face flashed a warning. Sharp, quick, deadly silent. Their eyes met for just 1 second, but Chitty saw everything. Chioma forced a laugh. Too loud and too bright. I mean, I heard from someone. A friend told me. I have never actually been there myself. The lie scrambled out of her mouth like a scared animal. Chitty smiled and changed the subject smoothly, as if he had noticed nothing. But he had recorded that moment in his mind, clear as daylight. After Chioma left, Adiz seemed nervous. She cleaned the dishes too quickly, her movements jerky. She avoided eye contact. She went to bed early, claiming she was tired. Chitty waited. He was patient now, calculating. The next morning at breakfast, he spoke casually, as if mentioning the weather. My company is sending me on an urgent assignment. I have to travel tomorrow. Overnight trip to Abuja. Adiz looked up from her tea, her face carefully arranged into concern. So sudden? Yes. The managing director called last night. Important client. I will leave tomorrow morning and be back the day after. Adiz nodded slowly, her mind clearly working. Okay, my husband. Safe journey. Her voice was sweet, too sweet, like honey hiding poison. Chitty finished his breakfast and went to work. He left his phone on the table, watching. 20 minutes later, his backup phone, the one he had hidden, showed a notification. Adiz had made a call. Less than an hour after that, his phone rang. It was Emeka. Chitty, my brother. I heard you are traveling to Abuja. Chitty frowned, pretending to be surprised. How did you hear that? Adiz mentioned it when I called to greet her just now. Just checking in. Safe journey. Bro, bring me something from Abuja. Chitty ended the call and smiled bitterly. They had coordinated too quickly, too smoothly, like a machine that had been oiled many times before. The husband does not travel. He hides his car and waits. That night, Chitty packed a bag with great ceremony. He laid out his traveling clothes. He charged his laptop. He told Adiz what time he would leave in the morning. She wished him well, kissed him goodbye at the door, and waved as he drove away. But Chitty did not go to Abuja. He drove 3 streets away and parked his car in his colleague's compound. Someone who owed him a favor and asked no questions. Then he walked back quietly through the back streets and hid in the uncompleted building across from his house. From there, he had a clear view of his gate. His camera app was active. His phone was fully charged. He had water and snacks. He waited. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Chitty's camera picked up movement. Adiz walked into the backyard and made a phone call. Through the camera's audio, upgraded for exactly this purpose, Chitty heard her whisper 2 words. He's gone. 15 minutes later, a car pulled up quietly. The headlights turned off while still half a block away. Emeka stepped out, looked around carefully like a thief, then used his key to open the gate. He walked into Chitty's house like he owned it. Chitty sat in the darkness, watching the live feed on his phone. His heart pounded, not with rage, but with cold, surgical clarity. He was no longer shocked. He was simply gathering proof. The camera showed Emeka heading straight to the bedroom. No hesitation, no searching. He knew where everything was. This was routine. Chitty watched Emeka disappear into the bedroom on his camera feed. He did not rush in. He did not burst through the door with accusations and anger. He simply sat in the darkness, recording everything. The entry, the familiar movements, the comfort of betrayal. He saved multiple clips, backed them up to the cloud, labeled them with dates and timestamps. Then, using the smart lock he had quietly installed on the outer gate 2 days before, he locked it remotely. Now, nobody could run when morning came. He watched through the night. At some point, the bedroom light went off. Chitty's jaw tightened, but his hands remained steady. At dawn, his phone vibrated with a new notification. A text message had been sent from inside his house. He accessed Adiz's cloud backup, the one she did not know he had access to. The message was to someone saved as Chi-Chi in her phone, but Chitty recognized the number. It was Chioma. The text read, "He will never suspect. We are safe." Chitty read those words 3 times. Then he stood up, stretched his legs, and prepared for what came next. At 6 in the morning, he unlocked the gate remotely. Then he walked boldly into his compound, making noise. He slammed his car door. He whistled. He called out loudly, "I am back. My meeting finished early. The client canceled." Inside, there was scrambling, panic, footsteps running. When Chitty walked into his living room, he found Adiz standing there in her nightgown, her hair hastily wrapped, her face arranged into sleepy surprise. "My husband, you are back so soon." "Yes," Chitty said calmly. "The client's chairman had a family emergency. Everything was canceled, so I drove back overnight. No point staying in a hotel alone." Adiz nodded quickly, too quickly. "Oh, thank God you are safe." Then, from the hallway leading to the bedroom, Emeka appeared. He was fully dressed, but his shirt was buttoned wrong. His shoes were unlaced. His face was the color of ash. "Chitty," he said, his voice too loud, too false. I came to check on Adiz. I heard she was not feeling well, so I came early to. At 6 in the morning? Chitty interrupted gently. I could not sleep. I was worried about her. You know, as your brother, I felt I should. Thank you, my brother, Chitty said, his voice soft as silk. That is very kind of you. He walked past them to the TV and connected his laptop with calm, deliberate movements. Let me show you both something interesting I discovered. Adiz's face went white. Chitty, what? He pressed play. The footage filled the large screen. Emeka entering the gate at night using his key. Walking to the bedroom like he lived there. Adiz whispered phone call. He's gone. The room became ice. Adiz collapsed onto the floor, her legs giving out. Tears exploded from her eyes. Chitty, please, I can explain. Emeka dropped to his knees, his hands raised. Brother, listen, I can. Then Adiz screamed, her voice raw with desperation. It started because of something you did. Chitty turned slowly to face his wife, his expression unreadable. What did I do, Adiz? Her voice shook with tears and rage. You neglected me. You cared more about work than me. You were always quiet, always distant, never talking to me, never. So you punished me? Chitty said quietly. By destroying our home? Emeka scrambled to add his voice, desperate now. I only tried to comfort her, Chitty. She was lonely. She was hurting. I never meant for it to become. To become what? Chitty interrupted. Planned? Organized? A pattern. He walked to the dining table and picked up a folder he had prepared the night before. He opened it calmly, methodically. Inside were printed hotel receipts, dates going back months. Screenshots of text messages between Adiz and Emeka. Photos of the hidden camera. The spare key. Records from both hotels. Everything was organized like a legal case, color-coded and labeled. This receipt, Chitty said, holding up the first one, is from Sunrise Hotel. 3 months ago. He held up another. This one is from Golden Palace Hotel. 2 months ago. Another. This one is from last week. He spread them across the table like playing cards. This was not comfort, he said, his voice steady and cold. This was not a moment of weakness. This was a system, a routine, a second life. Adiz's sobs grew louder, more desperate. Chitty placed the folder back on the table. I will not shout, he said. I will not fight, but I will do 3 things. Chitty counted on his fingers, his voice calm and final. 1. I will separate from you peacefully. Adiz's head shot up, her eyes wide with terror. No, Chitty, please. 2. I will inform both families with this evidence. You will disgrace me, she screamed. You will ruin my name. No, Chitty said quietly. You ruined your own name. I am simply telling the truth. 3. I will protect my name legally. I will not be blamed for what you destroyed. Emeka stood up, his face twisting with anger and fear. You can't ruin me, Chitty. You think you're perfect? You think people will believe. I have footage, Chitty interrupted, his voice like steel. I have receipts. I have witnesses. I have dates and times. What do you have? Lies. Emeka's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Now, Chitty said, walking to the door and opening it wide. Get out of my house. Emeka hesitated, looked at Adiz, then stumbled toward the door. This is not over, he muttered as he passed. Chitty smiled coldly. Yes, it is. After Emeka left, Adiz crawled toward Chitty on her knees. Please, she begged. Please let me explain. Let me tell you what I was running from. Let me. You can explain, Chitty said. To your family, to the elders, to whoever asks. But you will not explain inside my house anymore. He walked past her and began packing his belongings. The wife panics because shame, not love, is what she fears. 2 days later, Chitty called a meeting at the home of Chief Okonkwo, a respected elder in the community. Both families gathered, Adiz's parents, Chitty's uncle, representatives from both sides. Emeka's wife, Ngozi, arrived too. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard as stones. Chidi presented his evidence methodically. The hotel receipts, the footage from his camera showing Emeka entering at night, the timestamps, the neighbor's testimony. He spoke calmly, without emotion, like a lawyer presenting a case. Adi's father wept openly, his head in his hands. Her mother stared at the floor, unable to look at her daughter. Emeka tried to deny everything at first. This is edited. Chidi is lying. He manipulated the videos. But then Chidi played the hotel recordings, showed the keycard with Emeka's name, presented the signed testimony from the hotel receptionist. Chief Okonkwo's face hardened like stone. This is abomination. This is betrayal of the deepest kind. Then something unexpected happened. Ngozi, Emeka's wife, stood up. She had been silent until now, sitting in the corner like a shadow. Her voice was quiet but sharp as a blade. This, she said, looking directly at Emeka, is not the first home you have entered. The room went completely silent. Ngozi pulled out her phone with hands that trembled slightly. I have been tracking him for 2 years. I found messages, phone calls, other women's names. I stayed silent because of shame, because I thought it would stop. But now I will speak. She played a recording, Emeka's voice, laughing with another woman, making plans to meet. Emeka's face turned gray. Chief Okonkwo stood up, his walking stick hitting the floor like a judge's gavel. This man is not a man of honor. He is a snake. One by one, other voices began to speak. A cousin whispered about rumors she had heard. A church member mentioned strange behavior he had noticed. A neighbor confirmed seeing Emeka's car at different houses. The web of lies unraveled thread by thread. And Adiz, sitting in the corner with her face in her hands, realized something that broke her completely. She was not special. She was not chosen. She was not loved. She was just convenient. Emeka's reputation collapsed in that room. His own wife filed for separation that same week. His church suspended him from leadership. His workplace began an investigation after anonymous reports. Chief Okonkwo turned to Chidi. What do you want, my son? I want separation, Chidi said firmly. I want my name cleared. I want to rebuild in peace. Adiz's family begged him to reconsider. She made a mistake. She is young. Give her another chance. But Chidi's answer was quiet and unshakable. I do not hate her. I wish her healing. But she will not heal inside my house. Some foundations, once broken, cannot be rebuilt. Adiz looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Chidi, please, let me explain what I was running from. Let me tell you why I... Speak, Chidi said. I will listen. Adiz's voice cracked as she spoke, her words tumbling out between sobs. I was afraid of becoming like my mother. Trapped, bitter, unseen. I watched her waste away in a marriage where she was just furniture. I thought excitement would fill the emptiness. I thought validation from someone else would prove I was still desirable, still valuable. She looked up at Chidi, her eyes desperate. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Chidi listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his words carried a weight that silenced the room. Pain is not permission to destroy others. He stood and addressed Chief Okonkwo. I will sign the separation papers. I will return her belongings with respect. But I will not carry this marriage anymore. Within a week, the separation was finalized. Chidi moved out and rented a smaller place across town. He did not speak bitterly about Adiz or Emeka. When people asked, he simply said, It is finished. I am rebuilding. Months passed. Chidi joined a church group for men and began mentoring younger husbands about boundaries, trust, and protecting peace. His story spread quietly, not as gossip but as a lesson. One evening, a young man asked him, Sir, how did you stay so calm? I would have fought him. Chidi smiled. Fighting would have made me like them. I chose dignity instead. Years later, people still remembered the story. not because of the betrayal but because of how it was handled. If only he knew what his friend did to his home. He would have locked the door of trust earlier. But when he finally knew, he did something better than revenge. He walked away with his peace intact. And that was the truest victory.